Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I have a card project for you. I'm doing some swaps with a group, and we were challenged to use the new in colors in this group as well as one of the last videos I've done, and this one is completely different, so I thought I'd share it with you. Let's just get started. Okay, here's my project. So I made this two different ways, and I thought I would show you today both ways, and then you can decide which is the best way for you. And what I'm using to make this project is I am using the Woven Heirlooms stamp set here, and I'm using this sentiment here, wishing you a day of love and joy. And I just thought that was so pretty, and it could be for congratulations, it could be for birthday, it could be for, you know, just because. And so that's the one I'm using today, and I'm also using this long stamp here. What I did was I used that on the inside of the card to add some decoration. Let's see, then I'm using the coordinating dies and embossing folder. And so the dies come, the Heirloom Frames dies and embossing folder comes with two frames. This oval frame that I'm using for my card today and a square frame, and I thought I'd show you what that square frame looks like. It's actually pretty small, so it gives you a smaller window to put a sentiment in or to do something else on the inside, and I think that's going to be fun to figure out what else to do with. But today I'm using this frame here. Now I've done this a couple ways. With this card here, I have cut the frame so that I ended up with my oval piece, and you can see that if I bring it up here, it cut the entire oval out. And then I put it into the embossing folder, and this is one of the new 3D folders from Stampin' Up! And it works best if you have this embossing plate, which works with the 3D folders, and all you need is your platform, your folder, and this plate to run it through. Now, when I did this card, what I did was I took a panel that was just a little bit bigger than this, and I ran it through the embossing folder only. And what that did was left me with an embossed image on a full card piece. So I took a piece, let's say this size, and ran it through the embossing folder, just like this. Set it up in my embossing folder. So when this one came out, nothing was cut. It was just the impression of that. And I thought that would make a very interesting card just with the embossed image on the front panel. Then you could do some interesting things here. So, but what I did was I ended up fussy cutting out that embossed image. So I ended up with a solid piece in the middle. And you can see when we compare it to this one, this piece is cut out because I used the die and then embossed the image. And that left me with a piece that's inset on the inside of the card. Now, had I chosen to put a solid background here, let's say the white, then I could have done my stamping right on that on the interior, but I chose to do an oval here and do my stamping on it, and I'll show you exactly how I did that. All right, so let's just get started here and talk about what we need to make this card. And what we need for the card that I made is I have a piece of this sea breeze, soft sea breeze. Is that the right name for it? It is Seaside Spray. One of the new in color, Seaside Spray. And I have an 8.5 by 5.5 regular A2 card scored at 4 1/4. And we're just going to fold and burnish that to get our regular card base here. And there we have that. Then I have a piece of white that is cut 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and so that's going to go around this card like this, so that it just leaves ever so small a white border to pick up the white highlights in the paper. And then I have my frame that I've cut out, and I've got mine all done here, but I'm going to explain to you exactly how to set that up for the best results. Okay, so then I have a piece of Whisper White that is 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside of my card, and then I have just a half sheet or quarter sheet of the blue to cut out my oval. And one of the results of that is you get this little oval that gets cut out of the center of this. In fact, I'm going to cut this one, and I'll show you exactly how it works, and I'll show you exactly how to set up the embossing folder. So I'm going to run this through my Big Shot here, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is what you get when you run through this die on your piece of paper. It cuts out this oval for the frame here, and then this is scrap, and then we have this little oval that's left over for the middle, and you can do something with that on the inside of the card if you choose, or you can save it and use it on a different project. I'm not using that on mine. And so there's your oval cut out. And now I'm going to show you how to center this on this embossing folder. I found that in order to set this up to get the very best possible results, where it has the Stampin' Up! Sign is where you want to center your oval. Now, hopefully you'll be able to see this, but as I set this in place on my embossing folder, the first time I did it, I got it all cattywampus, and I couldn't figure out what it was I wasn't doing, and I realized you have to center it on the side that shows the Stampin' Up! Logo facing you, so that you can get, and I'm going to bring this up so you can see it here. Hopefully you can, maybe if I put the white behind it. I have centered it so that the rim on the inside of my embossing frame here is exactly the same all the way around. And for this one, centering it not only means up and down, but to get your oval right, left to right. And so it takes a little bit of practice to get them going. And then once I did it, I ended up doing 15 of them in just no time at all. And then you can close down the folder once you've got it in place, and then put that in your embossing machine, and you get this result. You get this with a rim all the way around it, and it looks like it's got beveled frame edges all the way around. This is on here because I've already got my Stampin' Dimensionals on here. So then what I did to set this up for the stamping is when I cut out my white ovals using one of my layering dies here, and I can tell you that these ovals, it's using the die that will cut 2 1/8 is the one that I use, 2 1/8 by 3 1/8. So it's that sort of not the largest, not the second largest, but the third largest oval. And what I did was I set this up in my Stamparatus so that I had this thing, this frame that I had cut out, and I've got it taped down to my Stamparatus base here. And then I put my oval back in this spot here because I set this up to stamp right in that spot, and that way I could get it absolutely perfectly. And this is set up to do many at a time. So I've got my stamp set up here so that it will stamp right in the middle of that oval, right where I want it. Then I'm using my Memento Tuxedo Black ink over here, and I'm inking up that stamp, and then I'm going to close this over the top, and guess what? I get that stamped right exactly where I want it, and if it's not perfect, you can do it again, and then all you have to do is use something with an edge on it to pick it up, take it out, put your next one in, and in fact, you could do it again on the oval that got cut out. And my little oval from my layering ovals is a tiny bit smaller than the oval that was cut out with the die. But we're going to do this one more time so you can see. Once I've got it set down there, it's just a matter, and I love the Stamparatus for this, because boy, could I go lickety-split on making a handful of cards. And there it is. They're all set up and stamped perfectly every single time. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, so that's how I did my stamping on this. And let me clean up my stamp here. I'm going to do this for a class, so I'm going to leave this set up prepared so that I'm ready to go for the class that I'll be doing later this month. Okay, so that is how I did my stamping, my cutting of my oval, and let's see. So I have my 4 1/4 by 5 3/4 piece, my piece for the inside of the card, and then I have my piece of designer series paper from the Woven Threads designer series paper. Isn't that just gorgeous? And so this is set up to go on, oops, this is the small one. This is the 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside. Let's see, I must have some ink on my hands. I do. And so I'm transferring it so I could get that off. My goodness, making a mess here. Okay, so then I've got my larger piece. This is the piece that's cut 4 1/4 by 5 3/4, and my designer series paper is going to go right on top of that. Then my oval, then my piece here. The only other thing I did was I took some ribbon here. This is the white ribbon with the silver edge, metallic edged ribbon, and I took the lightest of my Seaside Spray blend here, and I colored my ribbon. So, because I wanted an exact match, so I colored my ribbon here. Very simply done. Just pull it across the ribbon, and I decided that I made a perfect knot if this piece was about 3 inches long. So I'm going to set it down here and get it set at about 3 inches, and we'll just cut that off. Give that a second to dry while we start to put some of this card together. Right, we're ready to put this card together. So here I've got my base, and this piece of white, and I've got a little smudge on this, but it's going to get covered by the designer series paper, so that's not going to matter. I'm going to set this piece down here. Make sure that that is exactly right. It is. And I'm just going to use a little bit of snail here to put this piece down on my card, on my layering, white layering piece here, and just get the smallest little border here. And isn't that nice? It just picks up those little white bits on the inside. Then this piece is ready to go here on my Seaside Spray card front here. So again, I'm just going to do that with a little bit of this snail and put that into place so that it's got, again, a small border around the whole thing. And it's a very rich feeling card when you get done because it's got all of these lovely layers. Now this piece here, I guess we're going to have to use this side, and I'm going to have to take a little bit of that ink off of there with my sand eraser. There we go. And so I've got a piece of scratch paper here, and the other stamp that I'm using from this set, which is this long sort of texture stamp here, and I've got my Seaside Spray ink here, and I'm just going to ink this up. And what I did was I put kind of a longer piece, make sure I'm getting that inked up properly, a longer piece here at the bottom, and then I did a shorter piece up here at the top. And that is my decoration for the inside of the card. It looks like I missed a little piece there. That's the nice thing about texture stamps. You can do it again. Nobody knows the difference. So there we go. There's my card for the inside of my card. And again, I'm just going to add some snail to the inside of this. Isn't it wonderful that paper has two sides? That way you can ignore the ones with smudges on them. And I'm going to set that one down right here on the inside of this card, giving me a nice similar border all the way around. And there we go. That's all done. Now, for the outside of our card here, what I have is my embossed oval frame here. I just think they're so pretty. And I've got my dimensionals already put on this, and the backs are off, so I put it on my silicone mat here so that I wouldn't get it stuck to something else. And I'm just going to center that on my card here, top to bottom, side to side. And as soon as I'm happy with that, I'll just set that down there. Then I have my sentiment that we just did here. This was on the back side of one that I didn't do very well. So I'm just going to add some liquid glue on the back of this, because I'm going to set it in place and then wiggle it around until I'm happy with where it is. So to the interior of my oval, and then I've got to aim this at me so I can get it centered. But once I'm happy with that, I go ahead and press that into place, and you get that dimension of having your frame lifted and your sentiment inset. And you can just see a little bit of this paper peeking around the corners of it. I think it just came out beautiful. Now we have our piece of ribbon here that we've colored, and I'm just going to make a knot here in this piece, and I'm going to pull that tight, and your best knot front is on the back of this. And I'm going to take my ribbon scissors here and cut this down like that, and then I'm going to put this on with a glue dot and just set it here on my knot, and then put my little ribbon knot into place on my card, and we're nearly done. I then want to take some sequins, and I've got our Woven Threads sequin mix here, and my Take a Pick tool, and it's got some terracotta tile sequins here, and I had put blue ones on this one, and I thought it might be kind of fun to pick up the other color. So I'm going to set around a couple of sequins here, and maybe one of the blue ones on the inside here, and do those three like that. So I'm going to use my Tombow, although I did see somebody the other day, and I'm going to try this. I did see somebody the other day use their glue dots and take the sequin and put it on the glue dot and then pick it up and put it into place, which is very secure and very not messy. I don't know if that's a word, but I like the idea of no mess. This one I'm kind of folding over on its own a little bit to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to set that on there and then put that sequin in place right down here. I like that idea a lot. And this might be a good place. You know how you have, if you have paper pumpkin, you always have extra glue dots left over. This would be a good place to take your sequins and make them adhesive backed. So there we go, and I'm going to set that in place right here, and there is our card complete. So I think that came out beautiful. I love the soft understated colors. I like this one a little bit better because of the inset piece. This one sits on top, and that's fine, but until I saw it done this way, and then I like this one much better. With my little knot bow here, I may have to put an extra glue dot under that one to hold that end down there. But that is my project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator, or you could join my team. There is a particularly good deal going on right now through the months of July and August to join Stampin' Up! Where instead of the $125 for $99 when you purchase the starter kit, it's $155 for the $99. And then you get an extra $10 coupon to use the month following your joining. So that, I think, is an excellent, excellent thing to do. And you have a minimum when you join Stampin' Up! A lot of people join just to have the discounts. You start out at a 20% discount on the items that you purchase. And you have until December 31st, because we've already started this quarter. The first full quarter for somebody who joins during July or August isn't until the end of the year. So you have a 6-month runway to get your first 300 done, and then that gets you into the first quarter, which is Celebration and all of the fun discounts and extra Stampin' Rewards and all of that kind of stuff that you get during that time. So it's a wonderful time to join. My telephone number is always listed below the video, and I'd love to talk to you about it. So that's it again for me. My prize draw for the month of July is one of the big bundles in the catalog, and all it takes is putting an order of any size on my website, www.lbedinger.stampingup.net, or you can get to it through my blog, www.ingenuity.com. So again, thanks, and I'll see you soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye.